Thank you all for joining us. I want to officially welcome you to 8 VISTA member retention strategies you can't ignore. I'm Jessica Birch, a training coordinator with the Corporation for National and Community Service, and I'll be the host for today's webinar. I'll also be helping to facilitate the live Q&A throughout this session. Thank you for sharing the fun facts about your organization. So fun to see. Mary here said that they have VISTAs in 32 states and in 2 territories, which is, I think that almost has to be a record. So that's pretty awesome. I also liked that that Laura here said that Berea College has the world's greenest building called Deep Green, and that it's a women's dormitory. That is pretty cool. I want to go visit Berea just to go ahead and see that. And, you know, there's a bunch of other things here. Tina here said that she is the largest VISTA cohort in Maryland, so way to go, Tina. Keep those coming. We love to hear these fun facts about you guys, about all the cool things that your organizations are doing. So joining me today, I will be co-hosting with Amy Kanata. Amy has been engaged in various national service projects at Education Northwest and has been working with VISTA since 2008. For the past 5 years, she's been focusing on supporting the work of VISTA supervisors by developing resources for the VISTA campus, designing and delivering webinars, as well as writing curriculum for the supervisor's orientation. So also today, assisting us off screen in the producer role is Jenny Farrell from Education Northwest. So we have a great team here, hopefully to deliver all this great content with you. So what do we hope that you get out of this webinar? Well, we'd like you to be able to access resources to help orient your staff to what VISTA is and what the VISTA's role is at your organization. We also hope that you can implement simple activities to support and encourage VISTA members through the VISTA life cycle, which will ultimately lead to better retention. We also hope that you can list organizational and community entry strategies that will lead to a sense of belonging to your VISTA members. You want them to feel like an integral part of not only the community, but your organization. So we hope we can give you some of those strategies. And last but definitely not least, we hope that you can identify techniques and resources for member professional and skills development. So it's a tall order, but I'm sure we can get to it. So how do we go about developing this webinar? So from time to time, we review social media outlets to see what members are saying about their VISTA experience. We have structured this webinar around a question that came in on a Reddit post. So for those of you not familiar with Reddit, Reddit is a social media, social news, aggregation, web content rating, and discussion website. Members can submit content, not just AmeriCorps members, the whole general public can submit content, such as text posts or direct links. And you can often find posts about AmeriCorps VISTA on Reddit. So to talk a little bit more about that post and to get us started, I'm going to turn it over to Amy. Amy, take it away.
Thanks, Jessica, and hello, everybody from a gloomy and rainy Portland, Oregon. We are back to the usual weather here in the Pacific Northwest. It's great to be with you. So it's interesting what we found on Reddit. So prior to the arrival of 2 new members, a supervisor posted the 3 questions that you see listed on your screen on Reddit so that she could be prepared to provide a good experience and retain her VISTA members. So today we're going to hear the top 8 retention strategies that were recommended by VISTA members in their own words. So we've organized the presentation today around the project life cycle, not necessarily the order of importance of each of these strategies, because of course they're all important. And then another disclaimer, these pictures that are here on the screen are from the VISTA photo gallery, so they are not necessarily the people who posted on Reddit, at least as far as we know. So throughout today's presentation, we'll be sharing strategies and suggested activities, and we're also going to ask you to share your own ideas throughout today's session. So be prepared for more interactivity than you might be used to on our webinars. So let's dive right into our first strategy. And this really focuses on VISTAs being more than interns or temps. As we all know, they've really dedicated a year of their life to this position. So it's important that we ensure that all staff understand both the mission of VISTA and the member's role. So let's look at some of our retention strategies for this first strategy we have here. Here are some ways that you can approach ensuring that all staff understand both the VISTA mission and the member's role. So obviously, share the mission of VISTA and the core principles with everyone that would be engaged with your member. It's probably everyone in your organization. It's important to clarify the role of capacity building versus direct service. And then, of course, this is really important for any new employee or anyone just starting out. Help build your members' credibility within your staff by sharing why you selected them and what attributes really drew you to pick this person. And then some activities that you can do to support this strategy. You can share and customize. There's a PowerPoint available on VISTA Campus called the VISTA Program Overview PowerPoint. And we've provided you a template that you can use to share information about VISTA and your specific project. You can type in your own information with your staff. You could maybe couple this presentation with playing the capacity building card game, which is also on VISTA Campus. And then also to clarify your member's role, you might send an intro email with the member's resume and background information, and then maybe ask your new member to present a 10-minute overview of what they'll be doing over the year to your staff. So let's hear what you guys are already doing. And this is your chance to interact using the chat panel. And again, we'll be asking you to share throughout today's presentation. So you can either type in your answer to this prompt, what are some other ways that you can ensure staff at your organization know the role of VISTA? Type your ideas into chat, or you can also share your ideas verbally. So Jennifer, our operator, can you give us instructions on how to share ideas over the phone?
Yes, thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session on the phone. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1, unmute your phone, and record your name clearly. Your name is required to introduce your question. If you need to withdraw your question, press *2. Again, to ask a question, please press *1. It will take a few moments for those questions to come through. Please stand by.
Great. So while folks are thinking of their responses to this question, I'll just give you some ideas. So some other ways that you can ensure that staff understand VISTA and the role of your VISTA member. You might host a meeting or a phone call to introduce your member and just talk through the mission of VISTA with some examples. If you're a new project, maybe what you hope to achieve. If you're an existing project, an overview of what you've done in the past, so that everyone's really on the same page.
That's great, Amy, and we have some coming in here. So in the chat, we have some great suggestions here. So Wanda here said that they set up a meeting with managers so that VISTAs can explain their role, but also learn the manager's department. So it's kind of a reciprocal learning, which is great. Nicholas here says that he gets the staff involved, so ask them to say what they think the role of the VISTA is and then correct them as needed. So that's a nice way to do it. Like when you hear the word VISTA, or when when we said we were recruiting for this position, what did you have, what did you imagine that they would be doing, and to see how that really lines up. I think that's really great. Let's see here. Tam here said that they include new VISTA members via their monthly reports and share their VADs with other staff, including, and then they also involve VISTAs in staff gatherings. That's really good. You're making them feel like part of your organization family, which is fantastic. Let's see, what else do we have here? We also have someone here who said, we encourage our VISTA member to attend staff meetings and include her in weekly planning sessions. It's really great. Start her off getting right in the thick of things, right into the calendar and right into the routine of the organization.
Those are great ideas, Jessica, and thank you all for participating. We'll have lots of opportunities as we go through the presentation. I just want to double check. Jennifer, do we have anybody queued up on the phone?
We do not at this time.
Okay. Well, don't be shy. We love hearing your voices as well as seeing your chats. Let's go ahead and move on. We have several more strategies to cover, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Jessica, to reveal our second strategy.
Thank you, Amy. So, shouldn't be a shock that it goes very hand in hand with what Amy just shared. This one is really about organization and community entry. So VISTAs generally have a heart and have the passion to do the work that they'll be doing as a VISTA, but they may need some assistance getting to know their community and their organization to really put that passion to work. So in other words, don't forget about organization and community entry. So what do we mean by that? What are some strategies to do that? So kind of going off what we talked about in the first strategy, introduce members to key staff and community members. So this isn't even just community members outside of your organization, but this is really, it starts within your organization and branches out to the community. Make sure that they know who they're working with, who they would need to go to for resources, who your organization has partnerships with already. So introduce them to those key staff and act as a bridge for them. They're going to be brand new, and your partners may not know who they are. So you being that bridge or someone in your organization being that bridge for them is really key to make sure that relationship lasts. Also, a lot of you already said this, include your VISTA members in staff meetings and functions. A lot of you already do that, so it's fantastic. Make them part of your family. And then help them feel like they belong by including them and treating them as if they are paid staff. Goes along with the same thing. Don't treat them as the other. Don't treat them differently in that sense. Make them feel like they are part of the team. And also give them time to settle in, especially if they're relocating. And if they are relocating, or if maybe they're new to this type of work, help them, just get settled into the overall work life. And also help them find safe and affordable housing, especially for those who are relocating. That can be very difficult. So a few activities that can go along with this is orienting your VISTA to your workplace culture and make sure that those in your office know who they are. We will talk a little bit more about how to observe your workplace culture, how to know what that is. So we'll do that in our next slide. You can also use the community investigation activity in the on-site orientation and training, also known as OSOT checklist. That gets them out into their community. It really gets them out and about, and it's a great worksheet to help facilitate that transition out to their community. And show them around the neighborhood. Simple things like a local farmer's market, grocery stores or restaurants that have great meal deals, such as Taco Tuesday, are a great way to have this to start feeling right at home. So, just show them around, show them things that they need. So Amy here is going to share, we heard from a VISTA supervisor in Billings, Montana, who does a few things for their members. So Amy's going to read out what they do for their members. Amy?
So this supervisor wrote that in advance of their arrival, we give them the on-site orientation and training logistics, as well as the contact information for the site supervisors and any presenters that might be helping with OSOT. The OSOT plan also has a calendar of optional community events that occur that our current members put together for them, and this gives them something to do in the evenings the first week to help them get connected to the community. They write that they also give their new members the names, headshots, bios, and work email addresses for their outgoing VISTA class, as well as current members so that they can get connected to one another. And then finally, new members receive a list of staff members that includes the programs they manage, as well as their interests and contact information.
That's great, Amy. This is such a cool thing. Like when I moved, I want someone to give me a list of community events. That'd be so nice. But that's just one example of how you can make your, how one project really makes sure that they are oriented to their community and organization. So when we talk about, orienting someone to an organization or to a community, it's important to understand the culture. So it's helpful to think of your organization as a community, and communities most often than not have a culture. So what is a community? So communities define themselves in a variety of different ways, but a few are, they can identify themselves based on location, so such as an apartment building or a block or a neighborhood can be a community. There's also identities or affinities, so they can be ethnic, religious, or cultural groups. And then there's also shared experiences, so like a work or school group, a volunteer project, if you're a veteran, or as here, the VISTA community. So as I said, communities almost always have a culture. And that is defined as a shared set of assumptions, values, and beliefs by which they organize their lives and interact with each other. So along with that comes cultural norms. And it's important to know these so that you understand how it might be different from what you're used to, might be in line with how you work. So we want to talk about a few different examples of norms. So one of the first is time. So how do people at your organization or in your community manage time? Is punctuality important? Is taking one thing at a time or juggling many people and projects how your office or your community handles work? Understanding how your community and organization deals with the clock will help your VISTA more effectively communicate with individuals in your community. And it can also help stifle some of the frustrations they may encounter as a result of working with people or with organizations that have a different view of time. For example, myself, I love to get things done in a New York minute. When I served as a VISTA, my community's time felt a little bit more elastic, so it was an adjustment for me. But luckily, I had a supervisor who kind of made that known. Another, and this is huge, is communication style. So communication style, is it direct or indirect? So in some communities, it's part of the culture to be explicit in communicating your opinions or your questions, your thoughts and wishes. In others, people just simply imply their opinions. And another is focus. So in your workplace, just think about your day-to-day workplace. Do you notice whether people ensure that a person's health and family are well before talking about work? Or do you barely get a good morning before you get into the thick of business? It's just some things that, we might not think about day to day, and these are just a few examples, but start thinking about them in the context of your organization and plan how to orient your VISTAs to a community or culture that has norms that they might not be that familiar with. So, Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you for our third strategy.
Great. Thanks, Jessica. And we're going to continue with this theme of communication. And as you can see, one VISTA in her Reddit post said that feedback should be provided ideally daily when you're first starting out, especially if it's a new project and it's not clear what the members are going to be doing. In other words, as we would like to say, provide regular feedback and direction. So here are some strategies that you might employ. Obviously, scheduled check-in meetings weekly is best. It's a great way for you to partner with your VISTAs and think through maybe any challenges that they have, as well as opportunities, and look at the next week or the next couple weeks in advance. It's also a really great time for you to problem solve and spend a little time coaching them, and we'll talk more about that a little later in the session. And then some simple activities that you can do. So at the end of any of your feedback meetings, you can summarize the opportunity or challenge and then agree on next steps together. So it's really important that people sort of know where they're headed next, and you have your to-dos, if any, and your VISTA has their to-dos before they leave the meeting. And then, of course, you know, use their VISTA assignment descriptions to guide both those meetings as well as any feedback you might need to provide to them, which is important to have a really great VAD in that case. So we want to hear from you guys. What are some ways that you either are ready or plan to provide regular feedback and direction? So please go ahead and share any ideas in the chat panel, or if you're on the phone and you'd like to share some ideas verbally, you can press *1 to get queued up on the phone. So while folks are thinking about their ideas, I'll just provide an example. It's really great, and my manager does this for me, to set up that reoccurring appointment with your member for check-ins. Now, maybe you don't need to meet every week, and that's okay, but if it's on your calendar, you're more likely to spend that time than if you just kind of let it free flow. And it's also, you know, your member can sort of save up a list of things that are not urgent that they could bring to you, so that could also be more efficient if you're like, oh, if it's not urgent, bring it to our weekly meeting and we'll work through it there. Things like approvals, or if they want you to give feedback on maybe a resource or product that they've created, that's a good time to use your weekly meeting. So, Jessica, what are we seeing in the chat for this one, how people provide regular feedback and direction?
Well, Amy, I feel like you and Mallory here are, you know, sharing the same brainwaves. Mallory did say that they have weekly meetings with updates on projects that each individual is working on, so weekly meetings is key. She also said that making sure if anyone needs assistance or new ideas that we're there to help, so making sure you're available. Nicholas here said that he plans to have a daily mind dump where we all meet at the end of the day to dump what is left on our minds before leaving for the day. I love that idea. Just like get it all out and then head home, like get out of here. Laura here said that luckily we work in the same office, so it's easy to do daily verbal, like email check-ins and weekly in-person meetings, so that's really great. Let's take a look here. Mike here says that they do daily water cooler check-ins about work, weekly team meetings reviewing progress on VADs, which includes 3 of their VISTAs and their program director, and then a lengthier once-a-month meeting for the team to troubleshoot each other's problems without making decisions by committee, which is really great. I love that scale that you're working with, you know, daily things, you know, longer things, and then like a monthly, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, let's talk about it in depth a little bit more. Let me go to Jennifer. Do we have anybody on the phone, Jennifer?
We do not at this time.
Great, thank you. So we'll end here. Jose here said that we meet regularly and maintain an open door policy, but not all VISTAs are made alike. Some of our VISTAs are engaged in walk-in frequently, while others prefer to do their own thing. So I think that that's a great segue to our next strategy, number 4, which is find out what members need to succeed. So VISTA here said, I came in thinking I needed to learn everything as soon as possible, which was so stressful. So in other words, find out what your members need to succeed and let them know that you're there to support them. So what are some strategies to do that? First is the individual development plan, or the IDP for short. Each VISTA member who attends an in-person pre-service orientation creates an individual development plan. It's a written, individually tailored action plan to develop specific competencies, specific knowledge, skills needed to succeed in their VISTA position and to prepare them for their new responsibilities. This plan can also be used as a template to guide goals and professional development needs for PSO blend attendees. Over their plan, you should go over their plan with them and discuss actionable next steps in order to achieve those goals. This is an excellent document to refer to throughout service to ensure that those professional development needs are met. So another is to gain awareness of their previous volunteer or work experience. So when the member first applied, you probably took into account their work experience, maybe they had volunteer experience at an organization that you work closely with. You should come back to that information once the VISTA is at your site. Find out what they already know, what they have experience in, and their level of comfort with certain skills. After the members complete their pre-service orientation, they are invited to attend a webinar that we put on called Planning Your Professional Development. There's actually one going on right now, right next door to me. This webinar helps them develop a plan for learning what they need to know to succeed in their VISTA service. And it introduces them to the tools that they have on hand as a VISTA and shows them where they can find additional learning opportunities on the VISTA campus and beyond the VISTA campus. And last, definitely not least, is that when talking to your members about the tools they need, you can use questions that really get to the heart of their short and long-term goals. So, you know, what do they list as a high-priority skill in their individual development plan? What challenges or opportunities do you anticipate in meeting your goals? You know, even just questions as basic as, what are your short-term goals for this year? What does success look like at the end of this year? And what are your long-term goals for the future? Teasing out these can really help get to the root of how those short and long-term goals can work together, so then not only the project succeeds, but that the VISTA member is set up for success as well. So now we want to turn it back to you because we love hearing all the great things you have to say. What strategies or tools have you recommended or that you plan to recommend to your VISTA members to help them succeed in their position? So we're going to see what things you have here, what kind of strategies or tools. You know, a few examples is encourage them to attend the VISTA webinars that we put on each month. We put on 2 for VISTA members every single month, so encouraging them to do those. Signing them up for a class that's in the local community college or at another organization to build some of those skills. If you have that ability, if you have those resources, that's always a great thing. So let's see, what do you guys have to say? Amy, do you see anybody in the chat?
Well, it looks like people are still thinking about their examples. I think what I really like about this piece around what they need to succeed and the individual development plan is that the individual development plan is something that they generate, so it's based on what they know they might want to work on or skills that they know they want to add to their toolkit. And so it's a nice way for both the members to generate their needs and then for you to kind of triangulate that with, okay, what did you say you needed help with? What do you want to focus on? So let's see, we did get a few responses here in the chat. So let's see, Mike has 2 AmeriCorps members, one in California VIP and another teammate, and they give 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 hour trainings as part of their volunteer management certificate program. And that's something that they built with a partnership with other organizations and the hands-on network. And then also some more training models. You can read more about that in the chat. Sorry, I'm scrolling. I like that you have, you know, that he really has built some of his own trainings that he uses with his members to provide professional development. And then it looks like you guys also, I love this one too, provide funding for a member to go to a grant writing workshop as well. So that's great. I like that Markler, sorry if I messed that up, provides tools, materials, and opportunities to meet with other professionals or volunteers that can support the VISTA members. And then also hiring consultants when needed. So that is something to keep in mind. If there's a training that you're seeing that your members need, is there someone in your community that you can hire, or better yet, that might volunteer to come and provide that training for your members? So these are great ideas. I do want to remind folks that you can put ideas into or you can press *1 if you want to share an idea verbally. There's a lot of great ones coming in. Jason and his team have started using the tool called Slack as a way for VISTA to communicate online with other members throughout the state so that they can share project challenges, successes, give feedback, etc. So I encourage you to Google Slack. It's a communication tool. It's one that some of our staff here have started using too. So those are just a few examples. So I encourage you to kind of scroll through chat, everybody. So thank you all. Jennifer, do we have anybody queued up on the phone?
We do not.
Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and move on then and take a look at our 5th strategy. And this one seems like a no-brainer. It's pretty straightforward. Let's help make members' lives easier. But what does that really mean? There's a lot to unpack about that. So let's take a look at how we can support our members without undermining the concept of living at the poverty level, quote unquote. So let's look at some strategies and examples here. So on the screen you'll see some ideas and examples of ways that you can help make life easier for members through contributions. So for example, you can provide a grocery store gift card, a bag of groceries, maybe free access to a meal plan if you're at a university, for example, or somewhere where you have a cafeteria. Housing, we talked about this before, help them find safe and affordable housing. If possible, you have a way to offer subsidized rent, that's great. Help them pair up with other members for shared housing, etc. For transportation, you can support them by providing a transit pass to help offset any costs that they might have for commuting. Keep in mind that'll need to come out of your sponsor funds. And then things like parking passes or parking permits, if that's something that's appropriate for your organization. It's also great if you can help them with any extra costs above the $25 subsidy that CNCS provides for fingerprinting. So if they have to pay more than the $25, if you can help fill that gap, that can be really useful. A little bit, adds up over the year. And then if you have, exercise classes or art classes or anything at either through your organization or partner organizations, if you can give them access to any of those resources, that's wonderful. And then we get this question a lot, what is allowable around small gifts? So basically, it's fine to provide small gifts on special occasions like birthdays, holidays, for recognition, as long as they don't exceed any existing employee or community volunteer gift. So you're not giving them more than you would give any other employee or volunteer in your organization. So we have another quote from the supervisor that submitted some ideas from Montana. So I'll let Jessica read that out for us. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thanks, Amy. So this supervisor said that after the VISTAs arrive, the members receive a flash drive containing PDFs of our local social service provider resource map with contact info and basic services. We have a free and discounted, free/discounted food resource brochure that we put on the flash drive, along with our reporting forms, our timesheet template, and a downtown free parking map, which is amazing. That's what I would love. A library reading list on poverty that previous members have requested, and the on-site orientation and training presentations. They tend to focus on fun things to do in the area, Montana culture, and project expectations. We also give our members information that previous members have developed on how to access, heat assistance, housing search tips, and other links, and how to receive special discounts from markets and vendors in the community for our VISTA members. So that's just a cool way, like a little flash drive that can contain all that information. It's a pretty cool idea.
Great, thanks, Jessica. So obviously this strategy has a little fine print that we wanted to share with you. We did mention this piece around being fair and equitable, so it's important that the support you provide is for all VISTAs who are serving with you. So, for example, if one member gets a coffee card on their birthday, it's important that the other members get the same or equivalent of a gift on their birthday as well. You can't give cash or checks unless it's for reimbursable expenses. So you can't give cash or checks directly to a member unless it's for something that's a reimbursable expense. Of course, we ask you to reimburse VISTA members at the mileage rate for any sponsor-related travel that they need to do in their own vehicle. But again, VISTAs may not receive gas gift cards in lieu of reimbursement. So if you owe them gas money, you need to provide that reimbursement versus just a gas card. And then this is kind of the important piece. You know, it's a fine line here, but it's important that members are living and making a commitment to live at and among the economic level of the people that they're serving. That's part of the service experience. So you don't want your support to undermine this. You might help them out a little, but just keep in mind that part of the VISTA experience is living at the poverty level. So when in doubt, if you have any questions at all, just please contact your CNCS state office and they can answer specific questions around support. Okay, so this is a fun one for people to get creative with. So we'll just spend a couple minutes getting your ideas around gestures or contributions that you either already provide for your members or that you plan to provide to help make their life easier. So again, you guys know how this works. You can use the chat panel to enter your ideas. What kind of gestures, contributions do you plan to provide to help make your members' life easier? So I'll give you a little example while you guys are typing in yours. My supervisor often brings chocolate or snacks like nuts to meetings when we have our check-ins. Now, I'm not a VISTA, but I still appreciate this because especially when we have like late afternoon meetings and you just need a little chocolate to keep you going. The little things like that are nice gestures and can help make life just a little bit easier. So let's see. I know we have some ideas coming in. So Mary provides. Yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, sorry. No, Amy, I'm just thinking, I feel like you and Mallory here are just like kindred spirits because she says, always have snacks at meetings. I love it. You guys are both right on the same page. And then Mary here said that she has a list of companies that will give discounts to VISTAs. That's a pretty cool thing. You know, let them know, spread out the word that like what your VISTAs are doing for your community. You know, you can talk to your state office and we have one-pagers become like of information about what VISTA is. You know, talk to the local organization, see if they'll give a discount to your VISTAs. You know, they're serving, you know, they're doing service for a year. See if there's organizations would be willing to help them out. Let's see here. Haley said that we sometimes do a potluck and have organized a voluntary book club. Love book clubs. That's an amazing thing to do. Then you get to read a new author. That's a great way to make their life easier. We also have here, invite them to lunch, bring snacks, have coffee around, and mentor them. I think that's really nice to mentor them. They look up to you guys a lot as like a coach, as a mentor, as a resource, so I'm sure they really appreciate that. We also have here quarterly group outings, so that's fun, get out of the office. So when their members are all in the same city, do a big group hangout and go out somewhere else. VISTA leaders working in our office get a free YMCA membership. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Let's see, Tam here says that we are in a colder climate and many of our visitors come from warmer climates. So let's see, I'm sorry, it like jumped away from me here when I was reading it. I realized that some of them did not have winter clothing, so I requested donations of winter gear from city employees and local churches. I then invited all the VISTAs to a free shopping event to get whatever they need. That was last Friday, and the VISTAs loved it. That's such a good idea. So any of you supervisors out there in Alaska or Montana or any other place that gets super cold, that's a cool idea. Let me go to Jennifer on the phone. Jennifer, do we have any questions coming in over the phone?
We do not have any questions on the phone.
All right. I know the one time I don't ask is the time there's going to be a question over the phone. Let's see here. Laura here, we'll end with Laura. She said that they provide free campus parking passes and IDs, which allow them free access to the gym and all college events. That's super cool. I know my school used to do free concerts and movies, so I would love to have a free college ID. Also allowing flexibility in the day to go pick up children from school or sports or leave a pet or let a pet outside and then come back is also appreciated. We regularly provide lunch at our events and have monthly office potlucks. We also have a lot of leftovers in the fridge from the department events too. So those are all great things. I think even that little gesture about just flexibility, like, hey, I just need to leave a little early, my kid's getting out of school earlier. Hey, my dog needs to go out, can I let her out real quick and then come back? I think just showing that flexibility is really helpful. So thank you, all of you, for all the great things that you do for your VISTAs. So we're going to go now to strategy number 6, which is to give them ownership of their projects. This quote really cracks me up, and I love it. But pretty much what she's saying is, I'm easy to supervise, so just point me in the direction of what I need to know. So she really just wants ownership of her projects. So what are some strategies and activities to do that? So a few strategies. First, let them know when it's okay to take the lead. Some VISTAs may be a little bit hesitant to do anything without permission, and some may do the opposite, and some may, be all gung-ho and start sending emails to, the executive director every 5 minutes. So making sure that they know when it's okay to take the lead, equip them with the resources that they need to succeed, and then empower members to bring their ideas to the table. And along with all of that is agree on check-in points. They can have all the resources they need, they can have ideas, and they can take lead on projects, but you also want to make sure you check in to make sure everything's going well and that they have everything that they need to be supported. So what are a few activities with this? So as I mentioned, discuss the type of decisions that they can make and when approval is needed from you. So emails to all staff asking for information may be fine, but what about to your community partners? What if they just go ahead and send out an email? Is that okay? Is that something that you need to be informed about? So make sure to clarify this ahead of time. Also, clarify the key objectives and milestones in the VISTA assignment description. So the VISTA assignment description can be a little overwhelming to a new VISTA coming in. So make sure that you and your VISTA member are on the same page with what the objectives are and what the anticipated milestones may be. The VAD is a living document and may change a bit, but you want to make sure that you and your VISTA member both have an understanding of what is expected. And along with this, ask them to create a project plan. Anything that they start on a new project, a new proposal, ask them to create a plan, a draft, an outline, and present it. Have them present it instead of you just telling them what to do. Really let them take ownership of that and present it to you. So now we want to hear from you. What are some of the ways that you have given ownership of a project to your VISTA member? So once again, you can put that in the chat or you can ask a question over the phone, and those instructions are on the screen. So as you get to thinking about this, some examples are that we have here is, include the VISTA member in the planning or development process. So if you are going to start a new after-school activity and they're the volunteer coordinator, let them in on that planning process. Let them have their voice heard in that, really make them feel a part of that so that they have ownership of that piece and how they fit into it. Also, you can make them a point of contact for a project and allow them to take the lead on working with an outside partner. So, Jessica's our point of contact. She's, go to her with any questions. That really kind of gives them ownership and allows them to take the lead. So, Amy, do we have anything coming in the chat?
Well, I think people are still thinking, Jessica, or it's possible that they need a break from the chat, and that's okay. I just want to reiterate, I really like the example of asking members to bring a plan to a meeting that you can react to versus just kind of telling them what to do, because it gives them more ownership in that particular plan. So let's see, Josh sent one in. One of our VISTAs is a graphic designer, and I give her the content that is needed to go into our website and the flyers, and then ask her to use her creative flair to design the look and feel of the document. Wonderful. And then Kristen asked for VISTAs to delegate to her. What can I do to help them accomplish their specific tasks? That reminds me a little bit of the Managing Up webinar that we offer to members, where we teach them skills for going to their supervisors when they need something and when it's appropriate. So Managing Up is a webinar that you can recommend to your members. Great. So I think we're really getting some great strategies here. Let's go ahead, I think, and move on to number 7. Thank you all again. So let's take a look at 7 of 8. So number 7 is really about providing all of the professional development help that you can, and that means professional development support for them while they're in service, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, as well as activities to help build on their future career or educational goals. And again, these are things members ask for on Reddit. So some strategies for providing professional development. As I mentioned earlier, utilize your community as well as any online offerings that are available. There's all kinds of free courses and MOOCs and online classes. For example, VISTA also offers 2 college credit courses specifically for VISTA members. One focuses on resource development, fundraising, and grant writing, and the other focuses on volunteer mobilization. And we just shared that link in the chat. If any of your members are interested in these college courses on fundraising and grant writing or volunteer mobilization, have them check out the VISTA campus and look at the VISTA Blend section. It's also, as we mentioned before, encourage professional development focused on their VAD, tie it into their individual development plan, and then just help them think through ways that you can provide development both for this year and in the future for their long-term goals. Some activities that you might want to do. There's some great leadership training modules that are available on VISTA campus, and we will share these links with you. They're also included on the registration page. And these are a nice collection of resources that are little short trainings that focus around growing leadership skills and roles for your VISTA members. You might also consider inviting a VISTA member to shadow you or another staff person during an important meeting, just so that they can see how you interact or negotiate. Can really be valuable for folks. Another thing that you could do is maybe have them join another staff member during a fundraising pitch, or if you're a fundraiser, or join a grant application strategy session. Those are always interesting to me to see how sort of the managers are thinking about applying for the grant and what their strategies and approaches might be is really valuable. So just kind of think outside the box on how folks might be able to either share activities you're already doing or other trainings in your area. And then also something that we've heard lots of projects have tried is near the end of service, set up some interview practice sessions for your members that are moving on to employment, and then also offer to review and provide feedback on their resume. Great. So I think you guys, we're going to just spend a second on this, your turn to share on this one so that we can make sure to get you out of here on time. So if you do have any ideas on professional development, please go ahead and share those in the chat, and I'll let you guys kind of read those on your own. So if you do have any ideas, just go ahead and put those in the chat, and we will save the chat and share it with you so that you'll have all these ideas in a list. So don't worry if you miss something in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Jessica, who's going to read our 8th and final strategy. So back to you, Jessica.
Thank you, Amy. So our 8th and final strategy is provide recognition and thank them. So a VISTA member wrote, as a VISTA, you often get taken for granted and people forget that you're doing this on a small stipend. So in other words, provide recognition and really thank them for, the commitment that they're making and the work that they're doing. So a few strategies and activities about this. First, these might seem, pretty obvious, but thank them personally. Be sure to provide an example of what they did well along with the thank you. You can recognize them publicly. You could thank them in your organization's monthly newsletter. Maybe you recognize them as VISTA of the Month on the community bulletin board. Some VISTAs may be a little bit shy, so make sure they're okay with public recognition, but that's a really nice way. And also appreciate and acknowledge their commitment to VISTA and to the sacrifices that they're making. So what are a few ways that you can do this? So a lot of you have mentioned this. You can host a member recognition event or luncheon. You can endorse them on LinkedIn or be a reference for your VISTA members' job search. If you feel comfortable doing so, there's by no means an obligation, but that's a really nice way to thank them and to really help them as they move on to the next step. You can share a shout out within the organization of something great that they did. And you can also arrange for free tickets to an event, like a sports event, a music event, something like that to say thank you. And you can also check for local volunteer appreciation events in your area. And just an FYI, April 20th of 2017 is Volunteer Recognition Day. So if you're looking for a day, maybe that's a good one. So we're now going to just recap what we've talked about. We definitely encourage you to put in here other ways that you've said thank you in the chat here. So make sure to do those. Keep putting those in there, ways that you tell your members that you're thankful, but we just want to recap what we've talked about. So Amy, start us off.
Great. So quick recap. Number 1, ensure that all staff understand VISTA and the member's role. For example, invite your VISTA member to present a 10-minute overview to all staff about what they'll be doing over the course of the year.
And don't forget about organization and community entry. So, for example, orient your VISTAs to your workplace culture.
Number 3, provide regular feedback and direction. For example, schedule those weekly check-in meetings.
Number 4, find out what your members need to succeed. Learn about their prior volunteer and work experience, professional knowledge, and help them build those skills.
Number 5, help make their lives easier. For example, take them out to lunch once in a while, host a potluck.
Number 6, give them ownership of their projects, so empower them to bring their own ideas to the table.
Number 7, provide all the professional development help that you can. So utilize your community training opportunities or encourage your members to attend one of the VISTA webinars on VISTA Campus.
And number 8, provide recognition and thank them. So you can endorse them on LinkedIn as an example or be a reference in their job search.
Great. So thank you, everybody. As you know, reflection is an important part of service and learning. So as we wrap up this session today, we'd like you to list one thing that you will do based on what you learned in this webinar. So looking on down the road, what's one thing that you might employ based on what you learned today in this webinar? So go ahead and share those in the chat panel. And Jessica, do you want to talk about the evaluation?
Yeah, so as we go through, let's talk about the evaluation here. So we do have an evaluation because we love to know what you thought. On the right side of your screen here, you will see a quick poll where you can, share your feedback about this webinar, let us know what you thought. I know that just made the chat go away, so definitely keep putting stuff in the chat, but also help us with the evaluation. Please just take a moment to answer the questions. We really do take your feedback to heart. We do want to make these as best as we can because they really are for you. So let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see next, and we will do everything that we can to make sure we deliver that to you. So, we've talked a lot about today. We've had some time to, go over what you guys do and what you guys think, but we want to know if there's any questions that you have. So now is a time for some Q&A. Once again, it's the same. You can ask your question. This would be in the Q&A panel located to the right of your screen. And then if you want to ask a question verbally, you can call in using the number on the slide and pressing *1. So if there are any questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll make sure to answer those.
So Jessica, I see one that came in through the chat. I probably missed some others, so we'll scan for those. But someone asked about the capacity building game that was mentioned earlier. That is available under the Working with Subsites section of the VISTA campus, and we'll also make sure to send you a link. But it's a fun card game that you can play with members and staff to identify the difference between capacity building activities and direct service.
So one thing that came up during registration, a lot of you guys asked, what are some challenges that you guys are running into? What do you hope to learn? And one thing that really stuck out with me was someone mentioned that, the new PSO is sometimes hard. It's a challenge, and that not every VISTA is an online learner, and that you don't recruit VISTAs based on learning style, but that you recruit VISTAs based on their skills and experience. And this went along with a lot of other feedback we received in the registration about, we want to learn what we can do before a member even comes on board to help retain them. So, the best thing to do is make sure that they understand the commitment that they're making, make sure that they understand what VISTA is, that they will be living on a smaller stipend. During the interview process, make sure that they understand, the goals of your organization, the kind of work that they're going to be doing. There's a lot of information before they even get to your site, so preparing them for success ahead of time is really key. Amy, do you have anything to add on that? I know that's like a huge thing to tackle.
Yeah, I mean, in the recruitment materials on VISTA Campus, we try to provide some guidelines for you for when you're, both for any application materials you might have as well as screening interviews so that members really know what's ahead of them and you can make sure to get the right people and the right fit for your project. So, there's a lot available under recruitment. So that's what I would have to add. I'm sure there's more if I had a little more time to think about it.
Thank you, Amy. And so we do know that we're like a minute over. We are going to stay here and answer the questions that you guys have, but we do want to be respectful of your time. So if you can stick around with us, please do, and we'll make sure to answer these questions that you have. One question that did come in asked, can you increase the pay level for VISTAs? I don't know if that was directed at CNCS, like the corporation, or if you as a supervisor can increase the allowance. With regard to you, the supervisor, increasing their allowance or giving them extra money, that you can't do. As we mentioned, you can't give your VISTAs money directly. If your project, provides all their members subsidized rent, that's a way to help them, but you're not giving the money to them directly. With regard to the VISTA program, if we can increase the living allowance is determined, based on the county that they're serving in, and it factors in the poverty level of that community and of that county. So there's not a way for us to unilaterally just increase it. If there are cost of living adjustments, we do those, but unfortunately we can't, just give. We just can't increase it all the time, and I know that's a struggle.
Jessica, I see that someone asked, how do we know what members learn during PSO, or how do we support them during the training? So there are materials available. You can find the PSO agenda for the in-person PSO, as well as information about PSO Blend, which is the online PSO, on VISTA campus. We can also provide links to those since folks are asking, so we'll make sure to include a link to the PSO materials for both in-person and online in the resources for this session.
Thank you, Amy. So Wanda here asked, what are some strategies to keep VISTAs motivated, especially for those nearing their end of service? So that's a great question, Wanda. So a few strategies on how to keep them motivated. You know, definitely making sure that you have weekly check-ins and making sure you really get to the root of what that, I guess I don't say lack of motivation is, but really getting to the root of where that is, making sure that that they kind of see an end goal for their project and what they're doing, but also kind of see how they can start preparing for the end of service and why what they're doing now will really help them once they end and once they, you know, maybe look to do another VISTA term or get a new job. You know, we do have other webinars that we've done around, you know, retention, about keeping members motivated. So I definitely encourage you to check those out as well. Amy, do you have any other thoughts on that?
I think one of the things that we've done, you know, we've done a lot of webinars on retention, as many of you know, and something that one of our PSO facilitators always stresses is that you have to, from time to time, or it's helpful from time to time, to really reconnect the member with the mission of what they're doing for VISTA, and then provide them with some information about how their role might be making a difference, even if it's something small, like some statistics that you can share about your service recipients, or, hey, before you got here, keep in mind, we didn't even have a training program. Now we have a whole curriculum. So just helping them reflect on what it is that they're doing as part of VISTA and how they've made even a small difference can really help motivate them throughout their year.
And I want to go now to Jennifer on the phone. Jennifer, do we have any questions over the phone?
We do not.
All right. Amy, do you see any other questions? I think we got them all here.
So just to reiterate, a lot of folks are asking about the links and the slides from today's presentation. We absolutely will post those along with the recording of the session. And we will send you an email once those are ready to go, so just keep an eye out and we'll get those to you very quickly. It usually takes less than a week, so we'll have those to you soon.
And Amy, I have a question here for you that just came in. Mike here asked a question. And I think he's talking about the individual development plans, but Mike, please correct me if I'm wrong. Mike here said, it sounds like members create individual development plans as part of PSO sessions where supervisors may not be. Is the PSO produced individual development plans a model that is then revised collaboratively with the supervisors, or do supervisors have a role in the development of it?
That's a really good question, Mike. So at the in-person PSO, members do work on their individual development plan as they learn about VISTA and reflect on both their skills and things that they may want to pick up during the year. And we do encourage the members to share that with their supervisors when they get to site and to have a conversation with you. So if your member forgets to do that, it might be worthwhile to ask them to share their individual development plan if they went to the in-person PSO. And then for folks who have members that are going to the online PSO blend, I will share a link to the IDP, the blank form. It's pretty simple, and that's something that you guys could co-create together to help put together their professional development plan for the year. So it's definitely something that supervisors and members should be looking at and discussing and using to guide their development over their service year. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, it sounds like it does. And then this is for both of us, I think, and then we can end here for everyone. Paul asked, any final suggestions or resources about helping VISTAs acclimate to working in a professional environment? Many of those who may be doing that for the first time. Amy, do you want to start us off on this one?
Well, I think, you touched on communication styles, you touched on organizational culture. I just think it's important for folks to be clear about those things. If you're a supervisor who expects your member to be there on time every day, wearing business casual, ready to go with a pen and pad to take notes, you might want to just let them know that those are the expectations. If you're a little more laid back and you're okay with them coming in between 8:30 and 9:15, great. If you're not quite as formal, just share that stuff with them so that they know. And if they do make a mistake, it's okay to go to them and say, hey, I see you tried this, but here's something that I might recommend from my experience, or other VISTA members have found it helpful to do X, Y, or Z. So it's okay to provide them that coaching and mentoring and feedback as they go, but certainly helping them just understand the expectations of your office environment and your organization is a great first step. I also want to do a quick plug for our session coming up next month. It's around managing VISTAs, and it's going to be focused on fundamental supervisory skills. So that might also be a great resource for folks if you want to just maybe get a refresher on supervisory skills as they relate to VISTA members.
Thank you, Amy. And I also want to talk, just reference a webinar that we did, I think it was back in July, around, it was a part of our retention series, and it was about dealing with member challenges, and it was more day-to-day challenges. So this question has come up, someone who's just not professional, or they're not as well polished as we would hope, and how to work with that. I think patience is key, and as Amy said, making sure to set up those expectations right from the start. I would over-communicate about it. I would make sure, you definitely know, they know what is expected, what they should be doing, and then as long as they have that information up front, and then if something needs to be changed, then you can have a conversation with them about that. But they might not be in a position to where they know that maybe something isn't appropriate for that work environment, or maybe that they should do something differently. So really guiding them on what is okay at your organization and what is not, I think, is really key to just setting them up for success, and making sure that, they have all the information they need to be the best VISTA possible. So with that, I think we will end here, and I do just want to say thank you again to everyone for joining us. As you can see on the screen, and as Amy just mentioned, our next supervisor webinar is next month, Managing VISTAs, Fundamental Supervisory Skills, so we hope to see you there. And our next VISTA member webinar is Writing Winning Grant Proposal, so definitely make sure your VISTAs go ahead and join that if they're interested. Thank you all again so much. We do appreciate all that you do to help support the VISTA members out there, and we hope to see you soon.